So first and foremost, Luka, thanks for jumping on, and we hope you and your family are healthy and safe. And we look forward to hosting essentially a series of these to keep our fans updated with both players and staff. So first of all, on your end, how are things going? How is the quarantine life treating you?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. The quarantine life is treating me quite well, like as well as it can. I'm basically just like at home, like I should be, but also trying to like do some sports, like work on my conditioning, do some sprints outside alone or with my brother, and just do some core exercise with the guy like a coach Simon, our strength coach. So it's not much, but like it definitely like helps keeping me sane.
And you mentioned core exercises. I've been doing some random workouts. My wife is big into fitness. Core is usually not that fun. Are you enjoying the those core exercises?
I mean, you're right. They're actually not fun, but like it's much better than just like being bored around the house. So actually, right now, quarantine made me realize that I can actually have fun doing core stuff. So I actually enjoy doing it because like it's the only time that I can do sports. So that's actually pretty nice.
So everybody is dealing with this in different ways, different countries across the world. In Austria, what's the situation like at this moment?
So at this moment, the country is still basically in lockdown. You shouldn't leave your house except when you shop groceries or like if you want to do some sports, run around. You have to be with people in the same household over the whole time. So you can't see your friends, unfortunately. I still haven't seen them since I'm here. But it definitely helps because our numbers get a lot better in Austria, and the government is thinking about doing like relaxing the situation a little bit, and we'll like there should be a press conference soon, and we'll see how it's gonna develop.
So Luca, going back to about a month ago, we were in Brooklyn. To me, it seemed like forever ago with
Yeah.
everything that's happened and unfolded since then. But you look back at Thursday and we're all in film and we're in breakfast together, and there's sort of a weird feeling that's happening. Talk about your initial reaction in the moments leading up to finding out that the tournament was not going to go on.
All right. So the first thing I remember that was the night before it actually got canceled. Like it was around 11 p.m. and all over ESPN there was this report that Rudy Gobert got the coronavirus and the NBA is gonna suspend its season. And we were like basically thinking, wow. So that is big news. So the next day, like we weren't thinking too much about it though, because like we prepared against last set. We watched film during breakfast, walked through our place and everything. And coach just like said that we should like we should be ready for the game. Head to our rooms, just focus. So we basically did that. And then on Twitter, my roommate was John, and he told me the SEC just could cancel the tournament, the Big 12, and we were like basically thinking, wow, so all these conferences canceled the tournament. So we kind of figured it's just a matter of time until the A10 cancels it. And then Chris Clooney calls us, who was also in Brooklyn during the time, calls us to our hotel, to the lobby, and he basically told us that the A10 decided to cancel the tournament as well.
So how hard then was the flight back to Austria for you? I imagine that you've just got so many thoughts running through your mind at that point, and you've got to make this flight to get back home.
Yeah, so it was actually pretty weird because like we left like Brooklyn immediately, then flew back to Davidson. And then at Davidson, we had like our final team meeting. The coaches told us what our options are, that we can leave, that we can stay at the dorms if we want to. So then I called my dad, and the next day, like he got me a flight back to Austria. I was a little bit nervous that it gets canceled because the situation was like really difficult, but luckily, like my flight wasn't canceled, so I could fly back home to Austria.
So another thing too, I mean, it's 9:45 a.m. here in the States when we started this call, so 3:45 local time where you are. How much of a challenge has that time zone difference made the virtual learning process as you continue your education at Davidson?
So actually, for me, it's pretty beneficial because my classes were Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30, 9:30, 11:30. and one class is also at 2:30. So instead of waking up at 8:30, I just have to be ready for the class at 2:30. So it's actually not too bad. Like
That's pretty
you just have
solid.
an yeah, you just have an afternoon with classes, so I don't have to wake up at like 7:30 to get breakfast and go to class. So actually, I think I like it better here.
That's pretty good. It's easy. You're in the
Yeah,
flow now.
yeah, very easy.
So talk about how are you and teammates, coaches, etc., staying in touch?
So we had like a Zoom meeting, like first week until everybody got home. Like there was like kind of we were talking like with coaches through the phone, through text, and then we had like in the last 2 weeks we always had a Zoom meeting each weekend, and that was actually pretty interesting just to see how everybody's doing. Coach tries to keep us tries to update us on the situation, but also like he always says it's difficult. Like nobody knows what's gonna happen. So we just like kind of talk about the experience we made through this difficult time.
Want you to see if you can talk the fans through the recruiting process for a moment.
Yeah, definitely.
How did you first learn about Davidson, and that what ultimately led you to make the decision and say, okay, I want to be a Wildcat?
Yeah, so it basically started. I was having a pretty good year in Austria in the second league. Made like some people noticed me then, and then I went to play like the under 18 European Championship for Austria. Um, we as a team didn't do too well, but I had some pretty good games. So then Davidson contacted me and asked me like just like informed me of the place, and obviously I heard of Davidson because of Steph, so I already knew who they were. And then it was just kind of talking to like Matt McKillop and Coach Bob McKillop. It was just like kind of I felt like they really wanted me at this place. They really thought I have a future there, and made made a visit to Davidson and really liked my official visit there. Coach McKillop came to visit me in Austria, and then it was pretty clear for me that I should attend Davidson.
You know, Davidson basketball, obviously a long history of strong international roots on the roster. What was the
Yeah.
adjustment like to playing collegiate basketball as well as getting in the flow of a high academic school as well?
Yeah, so obviously it wasn't easy in the beginning because like the pace was so much higher than in Austria. I really like it took me a while like to get adjusted to like run so much and like so fast. It was really exhausting, but what really helped me there was that I had, like really good teammates. Like the teammates was just great. They really helped me through everything, and that kind of just like made it easy for me to transition.
So, how does your experience then, sticking with the international theme, do you think it helps guys like Lee, David Christensen, Sam Menenga, who are all going through the same process this year, coming in and making that transition?
Yeah, definitely. I really think it helps that there are also other international players because like you just like as you said, like I can really tell them like what I made, like what kind of mistakes I made in the beginning, so they don't make them, and that really helps them as well. So it's just like good that you have like a really variety of people there, and also the locker room is always interesting because everybody has interesting stories, so that's pretty fun.
So, looking back at the actual season, up and down year, early roster adversity and shakeups there, guys that you prepared to have that then weren't there. So that changed a lot of
Yeah.
things. Roles were adjusted, including for yourself, because you were then relied on, you had a larger scoring load and they were trying to get you the ball more often. Talk about that adjustment for you.
Yeah, so as you said, like in the preseason, worked pretty hard there. Everything looked really good. And then like the first two games against Auburn and Charlotte, like we weren't there yet. Like our defense wasn't as good as it was towards the end of the season. It was just like we just like needed some time to figure everything out, and also I needed some time to figure it out because as you said, like some players were missing, and then right like really like disrupted my flow a little bit. But then just like through film sessions with coaches, through the practices, everything gets better, you know. And I think towards the end of the season, we played really, really well.
Now, one thing in particular that stood out as the season continued and progressed and toward the end, you and Nelson Bochi Yedem started to
Yeah.
develop some really strong chemistry that was fun to watch, with that high-low game again later in the season.
Yeah, so playing with Nelson is great. So me and Nelson actually in pickup also every time we like share the court together, like he's a really good passer and also a really willing passer who's just like knows how big men think, that's what sounds really important. Like as big men, like sometimes think differently than guards maybe, and he just knows like exactly where to pass the ball. And also just playing with him, he's so athletic that he like draws a lot of attention, and then that makes it easier for me.
And Luka, was that something that at one point just clicked between both of you that happened on the court? Were there other things on the side? What made that chemistry or enhanced it?
I mean, definitely what really helped is like that in practice we go through the situation so many times that like in a game it just becomes an instinct, And obviously like me and Nelson always had great chemistry. We're just like kind of our playing style seems to match, so that's pretty good.
Now going back, we mentioned it was a roller coaster filled with highs and lows. Are there specific memories or a game or two that you remember most?
Probably like the thing I remember the most was when we were in Orlando over winter break, just because also not particularly only because of the games, but also because it was winter and it was the first time I actually like it was like really sunny outside. And even though we lost 2 out of 3 games, I think it was really important for us as a team because then we kept getting better and better after the tournament. But there, I think we really made like strides forward for our like team chemistry, and that really helped us throughout the season.
You got John, Keyshawn, Malcolm, and Pat. That's the senior class that will be
Yeah.
leaving. What will you miss most about that class of guys?
I mean, what I'll definitely miss is just like also they were just great guys. Because all of them had a great sense of humor. Their leadership was really important, especially like John, who was like one of our team captains. But also with Pat, Malcolm, and Cal, who were team walk-ons, they helped us so much through practice. Like I don't think people really realize that like how much they make us better in practice because they play on the Cal and Pat play on the scout team. Malcolm plays like against the scout team, and it's just like Pat, who guards me every day in practice, like he's so tough in the post. He's such a great defender, and he really made me better.
So you touched on it a little bit here with your time in what is really, I guess, the off season, but we know there is no off season and the things you're doing. But as far as an immediate plan for you, what are you planning to work on from a development standpoint?
Yeah, so right now, like the main focus is definitely my body, just getting my body right, working on the conditioning. But like as far as my game goes, just like trying to like make the footwork a little bit quicker. Just like every move, like every spin is a little bit quicker, more difficult to guard. But then also work on my 3-point shot, free throws, and especially like trying to get the low defensive stance.
So let's run into some fun questions now. So
All
some
right.
rapid fire. You're always good at these. We always try to sprinkle them in during post game interviews and such. So the first one is, what restaurants from Davidson in the Charlotte area do you miss most?
So I plays a really miss Chipotle. Then I miss Big Bites. Great place, great Greek food, great burgers. And then I'd say another place that I actually really like to go to in America is Chick-fil-A.
Okay, that's a good choice. My son would appreciate that one.
Yeah.
All right, so if you had to choose one of your teammates to cook dinner for the team, who would you nominate and trust to make sure that meal is prepared and tastes good?
All right. So I think the person I trust the most to cook dinner would be actually John, because like he actually like can cook really well. Because one time during the summer he cooked for me and I really liked the food.
Is there any sort of Icelandic meal, or what? Is there a different sort of cuisine that he prepared?
No, it was actually Korean. I don't know why he cooked Korean, but it was pretty good.
So, favorite shows or movies that keep you entertained?
So what I actually started watching right now is Ozark, really good. Then the latest season of Money Heist is also great stuff. So I can definitely recommend that. And a movie, just like I watch because they added it on Netflix, Goodfellas. Even though I watched it probably 100 times. It's always good, like just if you're bored to watch it a little bit.
So we spoke during the season about a potential poster opportunity on a dunk. I hope you remember that. So,
Yeah,
we'll connect with that, and we'll say, did you have a favorite poster from your youth?
from my youth, I actually don't. I actually couldn't tell you right now.
So it
I
wasn't.
really,
We'll just say maybe it wasn't basketball related, I guess. So we'll just leave it at that.
yeah, maybe it wasn't basketball related. You're right. Like, I don't want to talk about it too much.
All right. So go-to songs on your playlist when you're doing all those core exercises.
Oh, so there I really like to listen to some rap. The Baby is always great. Just like some Spotify playlists they added, really like it. Post Malone, always a go-to. And then sometimes I really like to listen to German rap. I still listen to it a lot, and that really helps me through those workouts as well.
Any unique pregame or game traditions or superstitions?
Um, so I kind of like the only thing I always have to do before a game is my hair. I always have to do that. Just like I just like hate to go on the court when I play and don't have my hair fixed because otherwise it always goes into my eyes. So I just have to do that.
Would you say then that in the hair category, do you lead the pack in terms of getting the do ready?
Yeah, I think I'd lead the pack there. There's like nobody else on the team who I would say has like maybe Cal. Cal also like fixed hair pretty well. So I think it's close between us two.
So one thing that was prevalent during the end of the year was head coach Bob McKillop and the tennis ball. And probably right now for everybody, there's an essential lesson there of bouncing back through this whole challenge and ordeal that we're going through. Do you still have your tennis ball?
Yeah, I actually do have my tennis ball with me. It's somewhere in the backyard right now. I thought it was a really cool idea actually because we actually also went on a pretty good run after we did that. I think it was after the game against. Let me think. I think it was the Richmond game. No, I'm not really sure which game it was, but I just remember like we played URI afterwards, LaSalle, and we actually played them really, really well at the win against VCU. So I think the tennis ball helped.
Good stuff, Luka. I appreciate your time. Always a joy to talk to you. Glad you're working out. Glad you and your family are safe, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much for having me. Always appreciate it. And I hope you and your family are gonna go through this difficult time well as well. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.